So, tell me something terrible. Do you know the last episode release date? Let's play an over-under. Let's see. It's been over a year?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Let me check.
For sure over a year.
Let's check. Our last episode.
It's April. Mid-April.
Nope. May 9th.
Oh.
Just over, a year and 2 weeks almost.
2 weeks before my dad had to go and catch the cancer.
Right? You may have mentioned it in those last ones.
No, we didn't find out until May 17th.
Oh.
It's been a rough year. It's been a weird year.
Okay. We're just going to jump right back into it?
Yep, we're going to jump right back into it. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And you're listening to Tell Me Something Terrible.
Yeah, you are.
Pretty sure that's how that goes.
Yeah. I got to get these headphones off, though, because if I have to hear me half a second after I talk for the whole episode, I'll lose my shit.
No, let's drive Scott crazy.
Hard no, bud.
Okay.
So much better. Couple desk clanks. It has been, quite a year. We're not going to do a full year in review.
No. We
have social media that gets used occasionally. If you feel, you can find us there.
Not this social media. On our personal social media is a guy.
Yeah, if anyone, the 7 people that listen regularly, and thank you. No, actually, the reason we're recording this is we've had a weird
uptick
spike in listens, which doesn't make any sense. We're like, let's just put one out, put the feelers out. If this does well, we'll keep going. If it doesn't, maybe we'll wait another year until we put out
another one.
Another one.
I don't know, maybe like monthly.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think monthly would be doable.
Things have settled into it, but yeah, if you do a monthly one that's not like 14 pages and 2 parts and hyper involved, I can see that.
It's really hard not to, though, sometimes when you get on certain topics. The last one was a 2-parter because serial killers, I feel like, always have to be 2-parters.
I heard about a topic today.
Okay.
That I started watching a reel about, and I stopped. So I feel like I'll just feed you that information because I want to know more, but I don't want to actually look it up. And that's kind of the whole reason we do this. And then you can go backstory and tell me all about it.
That sounds doable.
Also, we need to get an air conditioner in this room for next episode.
Yes, we do.
You are glowing.
Thank you. It's oil.
It's, mid-80s outside and roughly the same in here. Yeah. But I didn't want to run a fan because I didn't want that to be the only thing people heard on the pod.
Yeah. So we left you with something heavy last time. So now we're going to do a soft opening with something a little lighthearted.
Light heavy.
Yep. Light heavy. No, lighthearted. I haven't had wine in a really long time and it's already kicking in. Yeah.
That's also part of the reason we had to stop doing this originally. When we were doing this twice a week, every week, and I was being buzzed to a more than buzzed every episode, that was becoming a problem. So that was one of the main reasons we throttled back from 2 a week to 1 a week to 2 a month to apparently once a year. So hopefully we'll find a happy medium somewhere in between all of that.
Hopefully.
Once a decade, we put out 30 minutes of content. Soak it up.
Rare treats.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a little out of touch. Like out of
touch.
Yeah. Yes. Also out of touch. I deleted a lot of social media. Like TikTok's gone. Yes. Everything's gone. I'm heavily medicated. No, I'm just lightly medicated now. Things are looking good, but I'm out of practice. So I have my anxiety pen, which is actually an anxiety marketer.
You do.
And marker, and a sheet of paper.
We're in a
just
new
like
room,
old times.
So things might sound different.
Yeah.
The computer's moved. We have a bit of a reputation where we rearrange.
We don't have a reputation. We're just weird.
Amongst our... No, because when I tell people that things have moved in our house, we're like, what? We rearrange rooms and or our entire house layout more than I think anybody else.
Yeah.
Like some people like move their couch. Ooh. No, we literally move our bedroom like once a year, which is weird and not normal.
No.
But that's just how we are.
Yeah, I think we're still feeling out where things.
We've only been in this house for 5 years.
Yeah, a lot of people. No, it was more than 5 years.
Whatever.
A lot of people, struggle with that. We put up wallpaper.
Wait till Lily's like she wants this room, and then we got to rearrange everything again.
She's not getting this room. She's staying upstairs on the same floor we are. Where if she sneaks downstairs, we hear the squeaky stairs. She's no way. Mm-mm.
Anyway, We do rearrange our house quite a bit.
Anyway, that's enough backstory. Jesus H. Christ, 5 minutes of our lives. No one wants to hear it.
Normally, in the old setup, you could not see the screen to like time everything. Just don't pay attention. Act like these monitors aren't here. They don't exist. Do you want me to put it on that one where you can't see it?
No, it's fine.
Good. Did you want to tell me a story about something borderline terrible?
Yep.
What if you tell me the story about the thing that I want to tell you to tell me a story about? Wouldn't that be crazy?
I doubt that's what happened, but that would be crazy. Okay. So, born out of the Great Depression, the New Deal created a government department called the Commodity Credit Corporation from the Agricultural Act of 1949.
No, it sounds way more boring than what I want you to tell me about next time.
Mm-hmm. So the purpose was...
This feels hyper political.
Yeah. You're going to love it.
Am I?
Yeah.
I hope you don't ask me, like, what is the New Deal? Because I won't be able to give you any... I understand. I know what it, like, the general principle of what it is. But if you ask me, like, anything beyond that, I'm going to be useless. Don't look at me like I don't...
It gave us, like, the national park system and the Hoover Dam and the highway system.
I know.
And, like,
I know, like... Yeah, just...
It dug the United States out of the crippling depression that it was in.
Just anytime you start talking history, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to have to be funny because I can't contribute anything to this conversation.
We taxed the shit out of the rich with the New Deal.
Anyway. Sorry not to interrupt you. First sentence. Just wanted you to remember that that's what this is all about.
Off the top of my head. There's probably people screaming right now that she's wrong and I don't care.
People.
So many people.
There's a person.
So
we also have reestablished our baseline to like nobody's going to listen to this because that's just what we but then people just keep listening. I don't know what's going on.
Me neither.
I'm very confused.
I don't think we're that funny, but some people do.
It's a mixture.
Yeah. So the purpose of
I learn things.
Oh, good. Learning things is
except
good.
You're like, what was the last one we did? I was like, it had something to do with Michigan, and it was a 2-parter.
Yep.
That's all you get out of me.
And then the guy moved on to Texas, and
something
he
about
murdered
coral,
some people.
Because I just looked up the release date.
So anyway, the purpose of creating the Commodity Credit Corporation was to create stability in the American farmer's income and stabilize prices.
Okay.
And it was for national security. It's important that the U.S. doesn't become dependent on imported food for survival, so farms are necessary.
All right.
Except I typed farms is necessary because...
Farm is necessary.
Guys, I studied English. Can you believe it?
You've mentioned that
a
dozen times
yes,
in this podcast.
And it just surprises me every time. So the milk was also used to strengthen bodies for the war, so it was patriotic to drink the milk and eat the cheese. And everything that was produced by dairy farmers.
Is this going to be based on the Got Milk campaign?
Oh, hold on.
Is there milk mustaches talked about?
Hold on.
Are you going to make me admit my stupid dietary preferences in this podcast?
So by the 1970s, the U.S. economy was in the shitter again, creating long gas lines, rations, and food production shortages like dairy. So inflation grew, creating a 30% increase in food prices. And so the government intervened in 1973, driving the prices down, which cut the profits of non-shelf stable products like in the milk industry. And naturally, dairy farmers were a bit miffed. So by 1977, President Jimmy Carter created a subsidy for dairy farmers, increasing the cost of milk by 6 cents per gallon and raising $2 billion in subsidies to prevent farmers from going out of business.
Is that Jimmy Carter you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I caught the right president.
Pretty sure Jimmy Carter is the peanut farmer.
What? James Carver?
No. Jimmy Carter was had something to do with peanuts. And it wasn't just James Carver or...
What? Are you talking about the Who Was episode?
No, maybe. Guys, I don't remember. I spent most of my life just half-assed listening to things. Anyway...
Which one was the president?
Jimmy Carter was the president.
Okay. He's not the peanut guy also.
No, he had something to do with peanuts too.
No,
I'm pretty sure.
That's a separate person.
No, you're thinking of who's the black guy who made all of the peanut butter?
His name's Jimmy Carter-esque.
No, it's not. Google it right now. Guys, we're learning together.
No, I'm going to the Who Was show.
You don't know how to Google. You're stressing me out.
All it's bringing up is the Peanuts TV.
Yeah, I told you. You don't know how to Google. This is why I'm the one that does the research.
You are not wrong. Nope, I can't find it quick enough. Keep going.
Okay.
Move on. Oh, yeah. George Washington Carver.
Okay.
That's his name.
But Jimmy Carter has something to do. He was like a lowly little like backwoods kind of like yeehaw kind of, and everybody was like, "This guy's." I know he's not the same. I'm just saying they can both be associated with peanuts and not.
I'm sweating so much. So hot.
So anyway, there was milk shortages. There was rationings. Well, there wasn't milk shortages. Milk was being rationed out. The price had gone up too much. Blah 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 blah. Farmers were upset about their drop in profits.
Okay.
So they created subsidies to help keep them in business. So according to Atlas Obscura, the U.S. isn't the only country to do this. China did it with pork, stockpiling frozen pork reserves. Canada keeps reserves of maple syrup. And the EU has a long...
Of course they do.
Yes, they really do.
They have maple syrup and hockey pucks just stocked up at places.
I now have a topic that I need to talk to you about. And
maple syrup reserves?
Look. No. Even better.
Canada Gooses.
So anyway, the EU also has a long, quote, scandalous history of accumulating butter mountains, milk lakes, and wine lakes.
Okay.
Yep.
And
so the U.S. farmers were like...
Butter lakes in the winter, you can ice skate on them at least.
Yes. And since they were getting subsidized, the farmers in the U.S. were like, fuck yeah. Probably not, but, we can pretend. And they increased their milk production to keep the subsidies from the government. So the government started buying the milk because now they're producing too much to keep their extra 6 cents a gallon.
Okay.
The thought was, we buy up the excess milk, it puts more demand on producing milk, which then drives up the prices, which increases the farmers' profits.
Okay. This is going to go to American USDA-funded studies, is going to be mentioned at some point in this paper you wrote.
No.
What?
Shockingly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not studies.
All right.
So here's the problem, though. Milk isn't shelf stable.
Correct.
So usually when there's a surplus, such as grain, it was stored in some place and reintroduced into the market as needed. But milk doesn't last that long, so they had to come up with something. And those somethings were powdered milk, butter, and cheese. Do you know where we're going yet?
No.
Okay. Some people might. So they found that they could buy...
Oh, is it the White House having the giant wheel of cheese?
No, that's older.
Okay. I do remember that dollop episode about whatever president left like
Jackson
40 pounds of cheese Jackson. Wheel or some shit in the White House. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is after that.
Yes, for the vice president who became the next president to find.
That's back when the White House was like a public building.
Yes, you could just walk the fuck in and like be like, yo, bro, I have a problem.
Yeah.
Now, well,
it was much smaller.
Depending on who president is now, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
cheese.
So they found that they could buy milk and create a 40-pound block of cheese that would sell for $39. The farmers would get $39 for a 40-pound block of cheese. So the farmers kept producing milk and the government kept buying it and making more and more cheese. And it was very serious business. So in order to prevent their cheesemakers from just selling them mass-produced crappy cheese, the government hired cheese graters. Like graters with a D. Cheese graters.
Okay.
Yep. Thousands of cheese graters.
Like a teacher grating.
Yes.
Not like the big metal triangular prism.
This is how we actually...
Square prism? I don't know. How would you describe the shape of a cheese grater?
Trapezoidal.
A trapezoidal prism. Okay.
Yep.
I can roll with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at me. Knowing things. Here we are. Look at us.
If you haven't watched the Paul Rudd Hot Ones episode, I suggest you spend that 26 minutes of your life. You won't regret it. You won't be mad at us. We make some poor recommendations. That's not one of them.
No, it's transcendental. It's a pretty good one.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
So these cheese graters.
Have your cheese ready. Yeah.
Yeah. So these cheese graters, they would only purchase grade A cheese, and it was a strenuous process. These graters were sent out to taste all of the cheese, and according to a retired cheese grater named Bob Ashbrook.
Okay.
Yep. In an interview with NPR.
He sounds like he's 280 pounds.
He had a nice voice.
Yeah?
Yeah. I listened to a podcast
he wasn't
on
too
this.
cheesy?
No. So in an interview with NPR's podcast Planet Money, because that's how serious it is, this made it onto NPR.
Okay.
There were 17 defects/specifications that each grater was tasting for. Cheese would be rejected if it was too flat, bitter, yeasty, malty, fruity, like appley, metallic, sour, weedy, oniony, Barney if it had too much lipase, was too acidic, or tasted like
Barney? What is Barney?
Like straw and animal
Oh, like a barn.
Yeah, like a barn.
Okay.
Tastes too much like a barn.
That's fine. I thought it meant like anything besides barn adjacent.
Nah, we like a good barny brie.
Yeah.
If it was too lipacic, too acidic, or tasted like the whey tank or sulfite,
okay,
it would all get denied. So this is literally grade A American cheese.
Yep.
Yep.
Kraft singles.
No. So the cheese started flooding in, and soon nearly every refrigerated storage warehouse in Wisconsin and 34 other states was filled with cheese.
Beautiful.
Ones for government these were ones for government and civilian use. They stored cheese in beverage distributors' warehouses. Like any available refrigerated warehouse
was full of cheese.
Was filled with cheese.
Love it.
But then there are these limestone caves about 35 feet underground in Kansas.
I feel like we're going to have rats the size of horses just eating all the cheese in these caves. But anyway.
Wouldn't that be great? It's the rats from Princess Bride.
Every time you say great this episode,
it's a rodent. It's a rodent of abnormal size.
I'm just going to hold back the cheese joke.
Oh, don't hold them back. Let them rip. Anyway, so there's these limestone caves in Kansas that keep a nice continuous cool temperature. So the government started renting out those caves. The cheese-filled caverns were approximately 120 football fields in size, because anything big gets measured in football fields in the U.S.
Well, we have such, weird measurements to start with.
Yeah, it's 300 yards.
No.
I don't know how above that is in meters.
Yeah,
No.
I thought you'd already converted. No, it is 300 yards.
You think I would know where it is in meters because of track, but I didn't care and didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So
it's approximately 100 meters.
Yep. So these
give or take 10%.
These caves were approximately 120 football fields in size, and the cheese was stacked in columns 17 feet high, and the government was buying 1 out of every 4 pounds of cheese created. Drink break.
That seems like an excessive amount of cheese. Government cheese always has a bad rap too. You're always like, if you hear people that are on like food stamps or anything, back when the government used to just give you food and you didn't get to go to the grocery store, you're like, oh, is that government cheese?
We're going to get there.
Oh, are we?
Yep.
Terrific.
So by the 1980s, the dairy subsidy program was costing citizens $2 billion.
Jesus.
Yep. They had to rent.
Sorry. Jesus.
They had to rent out more caves, and eventually the government.
And that's how we got our national park system. It was all the cheese caves. Well, let's take a cheese cave tour. Kansas's newest national park.
So eventually the government amassed 2 pounds of cheese for every American citizen.
Okay. I think the average American citizen eats like 50 pounds of cheese a year, so they can keep up.
We're going to get to that too.
Oh, are we? Cool.
So next up, how was the Reagan administration going to deal with this cheese crisis? So now we moved on from Jimmy Carter and we're in the Reagan administration.
Okay.
So there was this press conference held by the...
Of all the issues he has to tackle, any president, you walk in, you have a list of major issues. At the bottom of the list, the cheese crisis, 2 pounds of cheese per. Anyway, it's just a ridiculous problem.
It gets.
Does it?
It gets worse.
Does it? It gets different.
It gets more astronomical.
Terrific.
So there was a press conference held by the agricultural secretary, as described by Planet Money. During the conference, quote, he held up a block of cheese like it was a national emergency. It was like a 40-pound cheesecake, as he called it, that was green and moldy. And he was like, we have 1.6 million pounds of this cheese. And we don't know what to do with it.
Everybody loves pizza party. Let's get after it, guys.
It is the millennial calling card.
Right.
Pizza parties.
Charcuterie boards.
Seriously.
This is probably right at the cut. Was this the 80s still?
Yes.
Right at the
80s.
Cusp of the fondue parties.
Oh,
heyday.
That would have gone over so well. Why didn't they think of that?
I don't know.
This is why they need us around.
Right?
Free marketing, you guys.
Right?
We are just
I wonder when
think tank over
fondue
here.
went out of vogue. Because it's not a thing anymore.
No.
Not a lot of people are having fondue parties.
We had one tiny little fondue kit once from my mom that we got rid of, or may still have in a box somewhere.
That's very possible.
Frankly. Yeah. Let's be honest. That's why we bought this house, is so we could just keep moving our boxes of crap that never got open.
Pretty much.
So anyway, By then, there was a whopping 60 million 40-pound cheesecakes sitting in caves, starting to mold and rot. The Washington Post reported that the government spent around $1 million a day to store the cheese.
Oh, that's an extraordinary amount of money.
Yes. So what was to be done with all this cheese? It was suggested by the USDA that the cheapest thing to do would just be to drop it all in the ocean.
Are fish lactose intolerant? Because we'd find out in a hurry.
Yes.
I assume they are. I don't believe they nurse their young. So.
That's the next national park, is just like an oceanic cheese reef.
Can we... Jesus, there's so many bad ideas going on. Anyway.
But after a massive public backlash toward Reagan...
About the dumping in the ocean philosophy?
No. Okay. They were upset because his use of the words welfare queen, he was the first person to be like, these people sit around and do nothing but collect money from the government, a bunch of welfare queens. He was the first person to do that. Oh. Well, first president to really drive that home.
Give them some cheese.
Yep. And so he also promised to get rid of food benefits, even though there were still hungry people in the U.S. So the government was just sitting on this hoard of cheese like some Tim Burton fever dream inspired dragon.
Okay.
And so people were upset because
he wasn't doling out the cheese.
Yeah. That they're like, you guys, there's people starving and you're trying to get rid of our food benefit program. And you guys have how much cheese? And so it was processed into the divisive government cheese.
Okay.
They had too much cheese, and the less fortunate had no cheese and sometimes no really food at all.
Okay.
So 30 million pounds was processed and given to those in the TFAP program, which is the federal food program at the time, and to schools and to the military.
Okay.
So it was given out in 2 and 5 pound blocks wrapped in brown paper and marked with a government seal, and only occasionally had mold on it.
Okay.
And
I mean, that's cheese. You get cheese anywhere, occasionally.
Yeah, you cut it off. The French do it all the time. It's fine.
Yeah.
But this barely made a dent. So they gave out 30 million pounds of cheese and it barely made a dent. And the surplus only grew, with the government still buying cheese from the dairy industry. So they knew they had a problem and they were still like, let's just keep adding to it.
Treat a symptom. Let's not treat a root cause.
Mm-mm.
Okay. That's American. And just
in a nutshell.
There's a lot of, metaphorical purpose to that statement.
Yes. And then
let's wait till it becomes an unsolvable problem, and then we'll deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by 1984, there were 1.2 billion pounds, which is roughly 5.4 million kilograms for the handful of people that live outside of this country that listen.
The football field, but you converted the pounds of cheese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, they needed to know.
Yeah. I haven't looked up our demographic lately. I don't know how much of it's international still.
A few, I think. I have no idea.
When we were doing YouTube, we'd get a little more diverse listener group.
So this
didn't do any visual for this. Anyway.
So this increased from 2 pounds of cheese per American to 5 pounds for cheese for every American citizen.
That's okay.
Yep.
It's a fair amount.
Mm-hmm. So what was next? How to control this excessive amount of cheese intake?
Gift baskets.
Yes. Eventually, the
Pepperidge Farm basket full of
hide it in your vice president's closet. Duh.
There you go. Whatever you got to do.
So eventually the government paid farmers to slow down the production of milk. And even though the demand for milk has plummeted from the average American consuming 275 pounds per capita in 1975 to 149 pounds per capita in 2017. Okay, so you were vastly underestimating how much each American eats in dairy products.
No, I was just saying just straight.
Oh, just cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the government was getting out of the dairy business finally by the 1990s.
I feel like if you polled, if I just walked up at 10 strangers and I was like, when was the last time you had a glass of milk? Milk.
With an I.
However you say it. Milk here.
With an I.
I feel like it'd be like 1 out of 10 person be like, yeah, I've had a glass of milk. Not with cookies in the past year.
You really think so?
Well, I guess I'm biasing that towards our generation.
Yeah.
There's so many other better things to drink.
Yeah. Like wine. Yeah. Or water. Or just literally toothpaste. Anything else. It doesn't matter.
Don't drink toothpaste.
It's better than milk.
We don't have a liability. We don't have an attorney. So just don't listen to anything we say.
Yeah. Our advice is not sound.
Yeah. Not even recommendations. I won't even call it advice. It's just words. Okay. I think we're good now, liability-wise.
Yep.
Move on.
So, despite the decrease in demand, the dairy production just kept creating a surplus. And by the Clinton administration, they created the Dairy Management Incorporated, which had an annual budget of $140 million a year in an attempt to get Americans to consume more cheese. Despite the 36% of Americans that are lactose intolerant, even higher amongst the minority groups.
What percentage?
36%.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said...
Oh, it's like 76% amongst African Americans.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're still just like, drink more milk. It's dumb.
I still feel like you targeted me in this podcast.
I did target you.
I'm not lactose intolerant, just for the record.
No, he's just a filthy vegan now.
We're sneaking up on a year. But yeah, it was just a choice. I have nothing against dairy. I mean, I come from a dairy farming people.
Yeah.
But
the cheese was just becoming a problem.
Yeah, I went vegetarian for a while. And then I was like, oh, I'm eating cheese every meal. I should try to cut that out, which pretty much made me vegan. So I was like, I'll just try vegan. And it's been a year. I feel good. I don't know. Do what you want. You're not vegan.
No, I'm not.
So it's not that catchy.
I still like chicken and I have a bird, which is ironic.
Yeah, I was going to say, about the only thing you do eat still is chicken and a little bit of salmon.
And that's the thing that we own.
And cheese. You do eat a lot of cheese.
Cheese.
I love cheese too. That's why I had to stop.
He loved cheese a little bit too much.
Yeah. I'm a vegetarian. Don't ignore me while I eat this cheese pizza for dinner.
So anyway, it's all stupid. The new department needed to figure out a way to drive up the demand for cheese to match the continued overproduction of dairy products, even as U.S. nutritionists started to express their concern with dairy being linked to obesity and high saturated fats. And so in the 1990s and the early 2000s, the USDA created and partially funded a marketing firm.
Oh, is this the Got Milk campaign?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
So the marketing firm gave not just the Got Milk campaign. That marketing firm gave millions of dollars to fast food companies such as Taco Bell and Domino's to push them to increase the amount of cheese on menu items by as much as 8.
Is this where the quesadilla came from?
Yes. They would push them to increase.
I thought you were going to say like milk. I was like, who goes to Taco Bell and gets milk?
Yeah, they'd be the worst. Dip their little tiny mini churros in the milk. That actually sounds delicious. I can have none
they're
of those
Twisties?
things. Yes.
The Twisties are vegan. The cinnamon twists?
Yeah, but they're not.
In case you care.
They're not gluten-free, though. We're the most insufferable couple in the United States,
right?
I'm pretty
that
sure.
makes me almost not want to have dietary preference because it does make us difficult.
I hate ourselves so much. Anyway, they increased the amount of cheese on menus items as much as 8 times the amount they were using.
Whoa. Not 8%, 8 times?
8 times.
Okay, that's a number I didn't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
From Atlas Obscura, buoyed by items like Wendy's dual double melt sandwich concept and Taco Bell's steak quesadilla, the organization helped boost cheese sales by more than 30 million pounds.
Love to see it.
Yes. So Wendy's, Taco Bell, and Domino's Pizza all increased.
They don't chintz on the cheese. You got to give it up to Domino's in that regard.
Nope. They increased the demand by 30 million pounds.
There's so many disgusting numbers in that stat, but okay.
This marketing firm also bailed out Domino's from going out of business in 2010.
Oh. Okay.
And of course, the famous Got Milk campaign was created, featuring every type of celebrity imaginable, even everybody's current hyperfixation, Taylor Swift.
Oh, is she in the Got Milk?
Mm-hmm.
I just remember like MJ, the Williams sisters.
Everybody.
Yeah. Derek Jeter. Like, because it was like when back in my impressionable, like, whatever, early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were usually featured on 2-page like magazines in the middle of the magazine.
That's back when I used to get Sports Illustrated.
Ooh.
Right? We still have
for the
some.
Articles?
We still have some.
And we have the Sports Illustrated?
I have, yeah, because I have like Verlander's Cy Young Sports Illustrated, and anyway.
So it was for the articles, not the like swimsuit edition.
No, do you think I had the swimsuit edition back like?
I don't know what sort of shenanigans you got up to without your parents knowing.
I mean, I had a Sports Illustrated subscription. That was when we were married.
Really?
Yeah. We've been together that long.
Wow. Anyway.
That's back when they would offer them for like $2 a year because they just wanted to have subscriptions to sell their ads. So you pretty much would get the magazine for free just so they could sell to their advertisers that they were still giving out magazines.
It's fine. So despite all this, the government still doesn't know what to do with the increase in dairy production.
Still today?
Yes, still today.
Oh, good.
So
still a problem.
Despite the falling demand, the production has only increased by 13% since 2010. So the production has increased by 13% while the demand just keeps falling.
Yeah. Well, now there's so many. You started off with a third of the population that couldn't eat it already.
Yep.
And now you have even more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with alternative milks being so popular.
Yep. And they still get pushed. So in 2016, the American dairy industry, 2016, do you remember when everybody was freaking the fuck out in 2020 because they had videos of like farmers dumping milk?
No.
No? People were pissed. They were like, oh my God, no one's going to the grocery store. Look, they can't afford anything. They're just throwing away food. Look what they're doing. That shit happened in 2016.
Okay.
The farmers dumped 43 million gallons of milk into fields, animal feed, and anaerobic lagoons, which were probably anaerobic because the industry already polluted them and made them anaerobic. So why does it matter if they dump some more milk in it, right?
Okay.
Feed that bacteria. So the dairy industry is still being subsidized, albeit now is a direct subsidy to keep farmers afloat instead of buying goods that can't be given away fast enough and creating a false demand.
I mean, the one good news is when you dump out the milk, at least like nothing, like the cows are still fine.
Yes,
the cows are going to produce more milk, even though they're all hopped up on hormones to keep producing.
No, it's just a
giant waste.
Giant waste of food.
Yeah.
For things that they've known since 2010, nobody wants more of.
Yeah.
And it's just and we still have food insecurities in this country. Mm-hmm. It's just the most frustrating thing. So now they don't have a cheese problem anymore. Those cheese caves are emptied. So now instead of...
now you can probably pay to get a tour of the cheese caves.
I have no idea, but probably.
Okay. Next time we go to the first time we go to Kansas, we should check into that. Yeah.
For sure. So now there's not a false demand that's being created. They're just directly subsidizing them instead of forcing them to make more milk that doesn't need to be produced. Mm-hmm. So they're still being subsidized, but it's directly... it's just direct money to keep them afloat instead of buying goods. And according to farmlinkproject.org, the industry received $43 billion in subsidies in 2016 and $36.3 billion in 2017. And in 2018, 42% of dairy industry revenue came from these subsidies. And they still just keep producing more.
Terrific.
And then in late 2018... dear old Donald Trump was like, guys, I have a great idea.
More cheese?
It's going to be huge. The Trump administration released a $12 billion plan to come to the aid of farmers affected by the trade tariffs that were enacted by none other than the Trump administration itself. In order to...
Okay.
Yeah, right? Okay. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So in order to offset the financial burden on farmers of increased tariffs, the Trump administration bought excessive milk to redistribute to the schools. And that is the story about cheese caves and milk mustaches and government cheese.
All right. I like how you're like, let's pick a light topic. Let's get real political with cheese.
It's lighthearted. I didn't know it was going to be political until the end. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We're doing it. Everything. He took.
I feel like
He loved Reagan so much. He took everything.
You strictly wrote this podcast, so I'd have to admit to a mic that I've been vegan for a year.
Yes, I did.
That's the whole reason. I could feel your intentions from the very first sentence. I was like,
I can't trust this
I know
bitch.
why she did this. There's a ruse amongst us here.
Filing for divorce.
Yeah. God, I'm sweating. Anyway, but no, it wasn't. Nobody died directly.
No,
unless you're super intolerant and you were forced to drink milk,
or type 2 diabetes or whatever.
Yeah, or the increased risk of like colon cancer and stuff.
Yeah. So
anyway, not to get like super morbid about it. Also, I'm very hung up on the anaerobic part. Anaerobic pits of milk.
Yeah.
Waste. Mm-hmm. The microbiologist means like that's strange.
Just feeding that bacteria.
I mean, anaerobes are scary anyway, but
I know. I have little pockets of them on my face. It's called acne.
Those aren't anaerobes.
Yes, they are. Acne is P. acnes bacteria is an anaerobic bacteria.
P. acnes is anaerobic?
Mm-hmm. Or C. acnes bacteria is a new term for them.
Thankfully, we don't do we do very little anaerobic testing.
Yeah.
Just on blood culture.
They are scary, though.
Not that you care about my job.
No, I care so much.
I just mainly deal with MRSA.
Which is very scary.
Dog. That was the first dog collar jingle on the new podcast in the last year.
Oh,
you all right down there?
She did eat half a grape, so we have to monitor
She's
her closely.
been on very close supervision for the last 3 days, yes.
She's the worst.
Anyway.
Sources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I like to edit those in. Just kidding. I don't edit shit.
Farmlinkproject.com, cheese caves and food, surpluses why the government currently stores 1.4 billion pounds of cheese. History.com article, how the U.S. ended up with warehouses full of government cheese. NPR's Planet Money episode. I didn't write down the number because that would have been responsible.
If anyone wants to audit us, they can cite
They
it
don't
themselves.
give a shit. And then Atlas Obscura, why did the U.S. government amass more than 1 billion pounds of cheese? And that's the quick and dirty story about basic economics, subsidies, and the government cheese.
Good news. You didn't have to listen to me chewing cheese in this episode, which had happened in a previous episode.
Yes, the amount of times you had wine and cheese.
See. I don't know when we recorded those, if it was 1 and 2, but I would have that came out May 9th. I went vegetarian on May 5th, 2023.
Oh.
So that was right
Nobody
around
gives that much of a shit.
No,
about
I'm just saying,
lives.
I don't know, that was that was right at the same time.
It's been a weird year, guys.
It has. We traveled a lot. Our kids fucking 10. God, that's scary to say out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, maybe we'll do a life update a little more in the next podcast.
Nobody actually gives that much of a shit.
Not the entire episode of it, but maybe if people actually listen to this one, we'll be encouraged to do another one in a couple weeks or a month or
whatever. Do you guys care about us enough to know?
Most people that listen to this personally know us.
And they probably know what we've been up to.
Yeah, exactly. Or can figure it out.
Yeah. So anyway. That's the first podcast in a year, nice and light. The next one I've got.
Yeah.
I already know what I want to do for the next one.
And happy birthday to us.
Oh yeah, week. Happy birthday.
And Beth, shout out.
And Beth.
Patreon member / good friend.
Your birthday, buddy.
We are. What are the chances? I feel bad because
about as crazy as my fucking therapist having my same birthday.
So I'm terrible at birthdays. Admittedly, I am horrible at people's birthdays.
Me too. We suck.
I know yours. I know
barely. It took you 5 years before you were like, is it the 22nd or the 23rd?
It's because there's a lot of people's that are the 23rd. All right, it's very difficult for me. My niece is the 23rd. Victoria is my first ever niece. So I actually had to remember that one for a long time. Anyway, I know when Beth's birthday is because it's on my birthday. Jamie, her husband, our OG Patreon, Big J. I have no idea when his birthday is.
Are you serious?
I couldn't even tell you what fucking month because I'm not good at birthdays. I have no idea.
I can usually at least narrow it down to the right month.
Zero clue what his birthday is.
You have the most ridiculous memory that remembers the most obscure things, and apparently the birthday file in your brain is broken.
Corrupted. Yeah. I'm so bad at birth. It's because
broken hyperlink 404 not found.
I don't know if growing up they just weren't that big a deal to me. I didn't really care. And now
you did grow up poor. So.
Now Facebook tells me people's birthdays are. So I don't have to remember them. Facebook, but I have no idea when people's birthdays are. And I feel bad about it kind of, but not really. Because whatever, it's just your birthday. It's more of an accomplishment for your mom than you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. She pushed you out of her body.
Right?
Tore herself hole to hole. Or she got pulled out through a scar and she can't cough without peeing now.
Anyway, thanks for listening. If you made it this far.
Congratulations.
And if you waited a year to listen again.
Also congratulations.
And I don't know if he's going to listen. But shout out Doug. Your low-key motivation for us recording this.
We owe Doug a sticker.
I'm not going any farther. If Doug actually listens to this, the biggest of shout outs to Doug because his subtle inquiries about the podcast has been we really should. So anyway, shout out Doug.
This is your fault.
And for that we thank you.
Yes.
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye. Oof, that was terrible. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTpod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.